and welcome to Time to Talk, a show where we simply sit down and talk about whatever comes up. In this episode, we join a conversation already in progress where we discuss becoming selfless by thinking about ourselves less and others more. We also have a little epiphany about love.
It's interesting how a different perspective can bring in a whole new light on a subject.
Seems pretty elementary to me, bud.
To you it might, but therein is the gift, the calling. It's perspective. It's all perspective.
Isn't it funny how perspective seems razor sharp when you're critiquing other people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not so much when it's time to look within or even be aware of what we're doing or how skewed or fucked up our perspective is when it comes to our own selfishness. I was thinking of someone else. Wasn't thinking about me.
Mm-hmm. Therein lies the rub. When we're thinking of other people, that's when we flow.
Mm-hmm.
We're thinking about ourselves and what we can gain out of a scenario. I don't know about you. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, that's where I stub my toe. And then that's where I fall to my knees and skin my knees and then do a barrel roll and it started, I get some road rash. But when I'm thinking about other people, it seems to just flow. Thinking about others, putting the wellness of others in whatever scenario is advocacy. Yeah. And a calling. Interesting.
That is the calling, I think.
And we can do that wherever we are.
It's the solution
to
our problem.
Yeah.
Selfishness.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I've and as someone who's good at their job will do, and you had and have, there's been times, probably not enough, not often enough, but there were times where you've pointed out my selfishness. Okay, I'm getting it, I think. All I ever do is think about me. That's all I ever think about. And that's the problem. Okay, so how do I not do that so much? So I'm like, and I'm not saying that I shouldn't be communicating with my higher power. I absolutely should. But outside of that, what do I do? And so for quite a while, and still trying to think my way out of it. Mm-hmm. Well, don't think about yourself so much. Well, if I could do that, I wouldn't have had the problem in the beginning, in the first place. Well, just don't think about yourself. Well, that's all I think about. Well, stop thinking about it. Well, I'm thinking about it right now. And on it goes, just like a dog chasing his own tail. But then I kept hearing other messages about the program of action. And then I'm paraphrasing now. You can't think your way out of acting bad, but you can act your way out of bad thinking. Mm-hmm. Ooh, how do I apply that to this problem? And I'm brand new at it, but I have been experimenting with it, and it does work. For me, my exercise right here, right now, where I am, is talk about myself less. Mm-hmm. Ask other people how they're doing. Someone asked me how I am. Good. End of story. End of that topic. Because I catch myself. The obsession to drink and use has been removed. Mentally, spiritually, physically, I'm better than I've been in decades. My daughter talks to me. We hang out every once in a while, which is actually, when I think about it, quite often for, an 18-year-old. Got wonderful relationships with my fellows, with wonderful friends, real friends who genuinely care about me. As long as I can, got a really good job. They're really compensating me. And like I said before, if I can focus and channel my perspective, I can actually get more out of that job than just, I'm going to do the best I can and I'm really well paid. No, there's more there if I'm searching. No, I don't say any of those things. Because that's not my default settings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm unprotected. I'm unprepared, ill prepared. Hey, how are you? Third shift sucks. I don't sleep enough. And it's like, until I can maybe condition myself, act my way into better thinking, like I said, right here, right now, my exercise is just talk about myself less. Less and less. I'm good. How are you? Let's talk about what's important for a change. How are you? How are you feeling?
Yeah. What if the rabbit hole is that person's trying to think about themselves?
A, I doubt it. B, B, it's not about them. It's about me. So I have to make it about them. You ruined my exercise, by the way. You
Continue.
ruined my experiment.
Oh, because of the...
What if?
Yeah, there's always a what if.
What if they're trying to get out of themselves? Yeah. Well, then I'll just stop talking altogether. Just throw up a peace sign. Smile.
I like half of that. It's been presented to me to stop thinking.
How do you do that?
I'll let you know. It's a practice. The message has come that my main problem is thinking, and thinking too much of myself. So don't think about my problems. Don't think about them. I set an alarm on my phone to don't refuse to worry about anything. That reminds me, just let it go. Whatever it is, let it go. It's going to be handled. How much evidence do I need? How much evidence in my life do I need that if I let things go, it will be taken care of? If I'm in a scenario where somebody asks me, how are you doing? I say, I'm doing good. How are you? And then they say, well, how's that job going? How's that going? Well, they're wanting to get out of themselves. I'll say, well, here's what's going on in my life. I'll present to them the story of what's going on with me. I love how you presented, let's get to the real thing, is how are you? Right? How I'm doing is unimportant.
Mm-hmm.
How are you? Am I being selfish by turning it back on them? Oh, paradoxicality. I like making up words, by the way.
Am I being selfish by trying to defeat my selfishness?
Wow. So the solution that's been presented, we travel this journey together, is to not think about that stuff. Not think about my problems. Maybe not think about that stuff, but not thinking. That is the solution. So what do I apply that to? Everything? Well, I got to think about what goes on the grocery list. I got to think about, paying my bill, at a certain time of the month. Of course, I don't think about that. I put it on my calendar, and it reminds me, and then I pay my bill, for whatever it is, my phone, electric, whatever. Am I thinking about that? What's my real problem is when I obsess over my issues, when I obsess over my perceived problems, my perceived challenges. And I'm being taught to just stop thinking about them. And this speaker goes on to say, somebody in the audience stands up and says, what do you do? What's your practice for not thinking about something?
Yeah, that's my question.
And he says this. He says, I go to the movies. And everybody laughs. You go to the movies? He says, let me tell you about it. There's a theater in my town where the marquee's right on the street. You know what I'm talking about? You go to the sidewalk and there's the marquee, You buy your tickets, then you go inside. He says, I look in the paper and I find what movie I'm going to. I'm being overwhelmed with problems. I get out the paper, I find what movie I'm going to go to. I go to the marquee and I buy my tickets. And then I walk back out on the sidewalk and I say, God, I'm going into the movies. I'll be in there for about 2 hours. I'm going to leave all my problems out here with you. If you feel like, handling them while I'm gone, great. But I'm going to go to the movies. I'm going to be back in 2 hours to pick up my problems. I love you. And he goes inside to see the movie. For 2 hours, he just forgets about everything and goes to the movies for 2 hours. And when he comes back out to the sidewalk to pick up his problems, most of them are gone. And I like that story. I like that story, and everything I've heard from this guy that I've tried out has resonated true. So I like that story. Probably one reason why I like movies.
Yeah, me too. Can I touch on what you were just talking about real quick? Because I had one question and then it seems like the solution presented itself. I like that solution metaphorically because first thing I'm thinking when you're talking about going to the movies is how do I go to the movies in the middle of the work night? And it seems like I can do that by picking up crumbs.
Yes, you can do that by picking up crumbs. You can do that by going for a walk. I can playing music, doing art. It's his medium is movies. That's what he does. So what do I do to get out of self and stop thinking for a little while? Drop my problems off at the sidewalk. God, please watch my problems. I'll be back in 2 hours. Thank you.
If I could do that and just keep doing whatever it was that I was doing, which was thinking about my problems, again, I wouldn't have any problems. But I mentioned picking up crumbs because I remember your story of getting out of self. And in my work night, where I tend to have the most trouble with selfishness, self-pity, self-seeking, I could just go sounds so unflattering, but I could go sweep up, clean up.
One of the ways I do it, I'm doing it right now. I'm talking to someone else about things that have helped me, so I am talking about myself. Well, that's being selfish. Or is it? Am I relaying stories about myself that I feel might benefit someone else? Is that being unselfish? Is that giving of myself? Well, what am I getting in return? Are you paying me for this? Am I going to get on-air advertisements for this? Am I going to walk away from this interaction feeling closer to someone and believing that I've done what I could, that I've given a piece of myself to someone else, and what they do with that is entirely up to them.
It seems like the truth based on my experience tells me that whenever I can't think my way through selfishness and selflessness. But I do know this, whenever I am selfish and self-centered, I don't feel too good.
Right.
I feel quite the opposite. So maybe when when I'm pretty sure, again, not sure of anything, but in times where someone sincerely says thank you or tells me that I haven't been selfish, I feel really good. So maybe instead of trying to think my way through, is this selfish? Is it selfless? I feel pretty good.
Just don't think.
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't selfish.
Yeah.
And that's good enough for me.
Yes. Simple is of my higher power. Complicated? Can't figure it out? It's really convoluted? It's not of my higher power. It's part of the illusion that I used to live. It's of the illusionist. Please forgive me, all you illusionists out there, any magicians, but that's that's things that I can't that are complicated. I don't know. And on that, Simple is the way.
Yeah. It's not complicated. I am.
Or we believe we are.
I'm making it.
You make yourself complicated.
I make myself complicated. I make you complicated. I make it complicated.
There's the truth is in there somewhere. I can't quite put my finger on it, right? I'll keep coming back so I learn more. The more we share, the more these things that I don't feel comfortable talking about all the time, the more that we have a venue to let them out, the more we'll learn. Mm-hmm. Right? And there's me being greedy, is I want to give it away so that I can also learn from people, from others who are willing to give it away as well. So that's the only way I'm going to get better, is by sharing what I don't want to share, so that I can learn what others don't want to share, what their solutions are of what they've been through. I went through that. I didn't want to share, so I suffered for 5, 6, 7, 10 years. And when I finally did that, I felt so much better. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting around a Domino's table with 35 years, 10 years, and me. 1 year. And 10 says to 35, does anything ever tick you off? And 35 says, nope. And then a few minutes later, she says, I apologize. Yes, the same things that tick you off tick me off. It's just, I've been practicing this long enough that I know what tool to pull out of the bag. It takes me 10 minutes to get over it, where it takes you, and they point to 10 years and say it takes you a week to get over it. It points at me and says it takes you a month. Mm-hmm. Checks out. Mm-hmm. That's the promise. Is that if we keep talking about this, if we keep striving for the solution, it isn't the striving that we will find. Mm-hmm. If I just sit stagnant, I'm not seeking. It's the striving, it's the seeking that we'll find. I'm going to keep looking. Yep. Is not thinking the answer? Is going to the movies the answer? Is doing a radio show the answer? Is playing a concert the answer? I do not know. All I know is I'm not afraid to try today. Just today. I'm not afraid to try this answer. We'll see what happens next. I'm so grateful that you showed up, that you were willing to share and open yourself up. Thank you. Because you're helping me to grow.
And you're helping me to grow. That's us.
So I'm also unselfish.
That's us.
So
if it's us,
yeah,
how can it be entirely selfish?
There you go. There's a whole lesson to be learned on selfish, self-seeking motives. And is it the expectation that I'm going to get something from it? Or am I freely giving of myself? Am I freely giving of myself with no expectation of return? The most intimate thing I can do is to give of my deepest, darkest secrets, right? Mm-hmm. The most intimate thing I can do is reveal myself to you. And I don't want anything out of it except maybe I can pay forward what's worked for me. And maybe I'm going to learn something from you. That's the gift. 35, 10, and 1, sitting around a Domino's table. The gift, one of the best gifts was this person first telling a lie. They didn't know it was a lie, but nope, nothing pisses me off. And then a few minutes later, an amends. You know what? I apologize. That's not correct. This is what's correct. And here's the hope, is that you can have this too. You work it, you figure it out, you talk about it, you open yourselves up enough, you'll learn about these tools. And the solution will present itself. All I got to do is seek, be open to it. Go out and let's talk to some people. Go to a meeting once in a while. Help others. Pick up crumbs.
Let's pick up some crumbs.
Man, I'll tell you what. Thank you for your willingness. And I hope to have you back.
You're welcome. I enjoy this very much. I think you're onto something, and it would be my honor and pleasure to come back.
Cool. Any closing words for our listeners?
My closing thought is my incorrect perception of what love has been my entire life, which for me is what I can get. It's what I should get, what I want to get. Love is what you have to give. with no expectations in return.
Mm-hmm.
I read this earlier. It just came to mind. Final closing thought.
Okay.
I want to stop struggling and grasping for pleasures so that I may let go and receive gifts. Blessings.
Yeah.
Be kind, friends. Do good. Show love. Show compassion. How may I be of service today? How may I serve you today? Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us on our journey as we discover ourselves and how we can be of service to others. And I look forward to having you back again soon.